There is an old story about a farmer who owned a very special goose. Every morning, he would go out to the barn and find a single golden egg waiting for him. One egg per day, every day, without fail. It made him comfortable. It paid his bills. It gave him a good life. But the farmer got greedy. He figured that if the goose was producing golden eggs, there must be a pile of gold sitting inside it. So he killed the goose to get all the gold at once. And of course, there was nothing inside, just a goose. And now there were no more eggs, ever. Most people hear that story as a children's fable and move on. What they miss is that it is one of the most precise descriptions of how wealth actually works and how most people destroy it. Your invested capital is the goose. The returns it generates are the eggs. As long as you protect the goose and live off the eggs, you can have income forever. The moment you start spending the goose itself, dipping into your principal, liquidating your assets to fund your lifestyle, you are not just spending money. You are destroying your future income permanently. And unlike the farmer's goose, you cannot go buy another one once it's gone. This is the single most important principle in personal finance that almost nobody talks about clearly. The difference between people who build lasting wealth and people who die broke, even people who make enormous amounts of money, almost always comes down to whether they understood this one concept. Let's break down exactly how it works. Imagine you have $500,000 invested in a diversified portfolio. At a conservative annual return of 7%, that generates $35,000 per year, about $2,900 a month. You can live on that, not extravagantly, but comfortably. And here is the key. If you only spend the returns, your $500,000 is still there next year. It generates another $35,000. And the year after that, and the year after that, forever. You have created a perpetual income machine. Now imagine instead that you pull out $100,000 for a car, a vacation, and some renovations. Now you have $400,000 invested. At 7%, that generates $28,000 a year. Your income just dropped permanently. You didn't just spend $100,000. You destroyed $7,000 of annual income every year for the rest of your life. That is what killing the goose looks like in practice. Every dollar you pull from principal is not just a dollar spent. It is every egg that dollar would have ever produced, gone forever. This is why financial advisors talk about something called the safe withdrawal rate. The most widely used guideline, called the 4% rule, says that if you withdraw no more than 4% of your portfolio per year, your money has a very high probability of lasting indefinitely. 4%, not 10, not 20, 4. Because above that threshold, you start eating into principal, and the math begins to work against you. On $1 million, 4% is $40,000 per year. On $2 million, it's $80,000. On $5 million, it's $200,000. The bigger the goose, the more eggs it lays, without ever being touched. The wealthy understand this deeply. When you hear about trust fund families that have maintained wealth across multiple generations, it is almost always because they established rules around the principal. You may spend the income. You may not touch the principal. The goose is sacred. The people who lose wealth, and this happens more often than you would imagine, even to people who earned extraordinary amounts of money, almost always follow the same pattern. They earn more than they've ever earned before. They upgrade their lifestyle aggressively. They spend the principal when the returns aren't enough to cover the lifestyle. Each withdrawal feels manageable. Each one is justified. Until one day the goose is gone and there are no more eggs. Here's what makes this so insidious. When you're spending down principal, it doesn't feel catastrophic in the moment. $1 million still looks like a lot of money when it drops to $900,000. It still looks like a lot at $800. It starts to look less like a lot at $500. And by the time it hits $200,000, the math is brutal. 4% of $200,000 is $8,000 a year, less than $700 a month. What started as financial freedom has quietly become financial stress. And the whole time, it felt like spending money you had. The discipline required to protect the goose is not complicated. It is simple. But simple is not the same as easy, especially when the goose is large and the temptation is real. The framework is straightforward. Know your principal. Know your annual return. Set your withdrawal ceiling at or below 4% of your portfolio value. Build your lifestyle around that number, not around the total balance. The balance is the goose. The return is the eggs. Never confuse the two. This becomes even more powerful when you pair it with a commitment to keep growing the goose. If you are in the accumulation phase, still building wealth rather than living off it, every dollar you add to principal increases your future egg production permanently. A single $10,000 investment today at 7% over 30 years becomes roughly $76,000. You are not just saving $10,000. You are creating $66,000 of future value. Every contribution is planting a tree whose shade you will sit in for decades. The reverse is also true. Every dollar you pull from principal is not just that dollar. It is that dollar plus every egg it would have produced for the rest of your life. There is another layer to this that most people miss entirely, and it has to do with psychology. When your net worth is large, spending from principal feels painless. You look at the balance and it still seems like plenty. $1 million after pulling out $50,000 still looks like $1 million in your head. You don't feel the damage because the number is still big, but the math doesn't care how the number feels. It cares what it produces. And a $950,000 portfolio produces less than $1 million portfolio every single day, forever. This is why discipline around the principal has to be a hard rule, not a feeling. You do not pull from the goose when it feels okay. You do not pull from the goose at all. The moment you make it a judgment call, the moment you tell yourself, just this once, or I'll put it back, you've already started losing. The wealthy treat the principal as untouchable, not as a reserve to dip into when temptation hits. Once you understand this, you start to see money differently. You stop seeing your portfolio as a pile of cash you could spend. You start seeing it as a machine that produces income, and you treat that machine with the respect it deserves because you know exactly what it cost to build it. The farmer killed his goose for a single moment of greed. He traded a lifetime of golden eggs for nothing. Every day after that, he woke up to an empty barn. Protect your goose. Live off the eggs. That is the entire strategy. If this clicked for you, hit like and subscribe to fuel your wealth. We break down the money principles that actually matter. No fluff, no hype, just the real stuff. This is not financial advice. Always do your own research before making any financial decisions.